All right, so thank you so much for being here. I'm Steve Bonoff with Printing Industry Midwest. Welcome to a roadmap to attracting the next generation talent. What we're here today is for obviously a critical reason in our industry, and this is something that all of the affiliates in North America are addressing here today. And so want to make sure that you know who they are. So we've got PIA Mid-America who's joining us here today. We've quite a contingent from the print affiliate from the South. Printing Industry Midwest, of course, represents our region in Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, and the Dakotas. And we've got other attendees from across North America. This is an issue that is across industries and certainly impacting every company in North America today. So we want to welcome everyone here. A couple housekeeping duties. Everyone is muted. You can raise your hand if you would like to become unmuted. We want to make sure that you use the Q&A function to present your questions. That's the way we can answer them live. Now, if you have any technical questions, there is a chat function where staff will be happy to help you with any technical issues. The event is being recorded and will be provided to all attendees, along with a PDF of the slides of today and details of how you're going to be able to receive access to your Print is Everywhere kit. So just a couple reasons of why we're here today and why we're going to be welcoming Nick and his panel. The current labor shortages in our industry stretch really well beyond our industry. They touch all levels of manufacturing. The pipeline of production level talents that was once really provided by the graphic communication technical schools has really begun to fade away. And our production employees are edging towards retirement with an average age of nearing 60. And then adding to the burden for our printers is that our industry is often underestimated, it's misunderstood, and it's even unknown to many career seekers today. Print careers are just not generally considered like other comparable industries or trades. And also, even those currently serving within the print production workforce, they often lack a clear path to advancing their professional career in print and really feeling like that job that they're in is advancing towards a career. So affiliates like PIM and PI Mid-America and many others that are in attendance today, we are working on a variety of fronts to address these issues. Today's event is really just one of them, and I think you're going to hear on today's call, on today's webinar, of how you can participate in a variety of different strategies, technologies, programs that can really begin to make a difference in your operation to attract that next generation workforce. So I want to welcome Nick Gawreluk. So Nick is kind of like local boy made good. He is a product of one of the best high school graphic communication programs in America today, which is in Roseville, Minnesota. And it was really a testament to the importance of a local regional association like Printing Industry Midwest, because Nick was able to use the opportunities of the intern programs that we had at PIM to create relationships and to gain experiences in a number of really high-end production and print service providers in Minnesota. So that was really an important opportunity for him to get his feet wet and understanding the realities of the print workforce today. And then after that, he joined organizations Mimeo, HP, before landing his current position as Global Sales Operation Manager at Heidelberger, based in Germany. So he's back here in Minneapolis right now to help us today, seeing family and friends. So we're great to have him here. I'm going to let him introduce his panel, but we're so appreciative of both Deanne and Hunter joining us today. And so thank you so much for doing so. I'll stop sharing, Nick, and welcome to you. Thanks so much for being here.
Excellent, and welcome everyone. I will switch over to the presentation. Okay, well, good afternoon, good evening. We have people from all around the world, and I can't say how exciting it is to finally kick off the webinar. This has been highly anticipated, and I want to thank the various associations of the printing industry throughout the Americas who have supported this event and really, approached me saying this is very important to all of our members and the industry in general, and we want to put together a compelling webinar that really provides practical tips, right, for you. And yes, I'm talking to you and your company to actually find and attract that next generation talent. And that's the objective of the presentation today. And I have to say, I definitely have Zoom fatigue over these months, but my deliverable for you is to walk away from this feeling informed, hearing from a wide variety of opinions of our millennial panel, who is just an all-star group here. And ultimately, let's have some fun, right? I won't PowerPoint you to death. I've got a lot of great resources to provide along with the panel members. So let's waste no time and get right into it. As Steve mentioned, I'm joining you from Twin Cities of Minnesota, St. Paul and Minneapolis. If you Google image those cities, this is the image that will come up. And I have to tell you, it's a little misleading because in Minnesota, this is really what's going on. It is a cold state that you probably don't want to visit in the winter. And we are a little goofy here, like to have fun and embrace the Minnesota spirit. So that's where we're coming from live today. A little bit of my background. So Steve kicked it off great. I am very blessed that, at 14, 15 years old, going to Roseville High School, I found a gem of a program that introduced me to the printing industry and everything that's involved with it. And I was so passionate about the high school program that at the time, Printing Industry Minnesota, which is now Printing Industry Midwest, I took advantage of a phenomenal opportunity that they had. It was a summer internship program. And as you can see here, three very progressive, well-respected companies around the Twin Cities. I had a chance each summer to do rotational internships with each of them. And that really opened my world to understand what actually goes on in the industry, what does it actually look like? And that just really complemented what I was learning in the high school course. And it also set me on a trajectory to say, I'm very passionate about this industry, what higher education opportunities are available. So that led me from St. Paul, Minnesota, all the way to Rochester, New York, where I did a bachelor degree at RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. And that was a phenomenal part of my journey to receive world-class education on the industry, complementing that also with business administration. And part of their education is that you have to actually leave the school twice for a co-op or internship, if you will. And I had a big dream saying, wow, if I could go anywhere in the world, do any internship, what would it be? And I set that target to be with Heidelberg. So I was very fortunate to have an opportunity as a college student to spend 4 months in Heidelberg, Germany with their product management team, and then the following summer in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So that was very inspirational for me as a student to open up my world view and perspective of the industry. Since then, the journey for myself has spanned almost 5 international relocations, over 40 countries, and I've had a great early career journey with Mimeo, HP Indigo, and now Heidelberg, where I call home at their world headquarters in Heidelberg, Germany. And this is just setting the stage to my perspective, where I came from. You're going to hear a lot of different opinions today, which I think is an excellent thing, but I really feel like, I bring a diverse perspective to you, the audience, right? It's not like I came from a tradition of, family members working in the industry, and it was clear that that would be the path for me. I had no idea up until Roseville High School what print was, and following these amazing opportunities, it's put me on a really fun career path so far, and one that I would love to be in for my entire career. I mentioned the all-star panel. This is really going to be a treat. I encourage you stay for the entire webinar. I'm going to do a presentation, then we'll switch over to a really interactive panel discussion, and then at the end we'll have a live Q&A. So definitely take notes throughout the presentation here. It'll also be recorded if you prefer just to focus and listen, but you're in for a treat because we have Deanne Sinclair, who's joining us from Canada, working at a really respected label printing company, Cambridge Label. which is, family owned, and she's got an excellent perspective. Josh Montcastle in the middle, who is based out of the Carolinas, is unfortunately not able to join us today due to a family emergency event, but we wish all the best for Josh and thank him for originally agreeing to be here. And last but certainly not least, all the way from China, it's past midnight for him, we have Hunter Bliss, who is a founder of a very intriguing company that's progressing the industry in terms of sustainability and paper and traditionally how we look at paper in different forms. So stay tuned for this entire webinar. Okay, you tuned in today to try to get to this promised land, right? We all can agree in the industry, no matter what your business card says, what company you work for, what your position is, universally speaking, our industry is challenged to find and attract the next generation group of talent. And I'm of the opinion that, yes, this is certainly a challenge, not only for our industry, but for others. But I also think that, companies in the printing industry, whether it's vendors or print service providers, they also have a long way to go in terms of tapping into that resource pool. I think it's available, but the know-how, right? And the practical steps in order to find and attract, that's the gap that we're trying to bridge today. And if it was that easy, we wouldn't have a webinar about it. So at the end of this presentation, myself and the panel members, we want to bring you to this promised land where you can walk away saying, I feel much more confident that I can work with my internal team and put together a successful strategy. Speaking of millennials and Gen Z, this is what we're working with here, folks. I'm sure a lot of your children perhaps are even of this generation, and it is definitely a different one. For better or for worse, there's a lot of opinions on millennial and Gen Z. One universal thing is, I would say, disruption. They really look at the world in a different way, whether it's from social media, the way that they're really pushing, global and sustainability initiatives, focusing on meaningful work, right? It goes beyond just a traditional job title and salary. And this is the generation that we're working with. And a little bit of fun here, I found these short little comics online. I think we can all poke some fun at the different generations, but we really want to break down these traditional challenges or barriers and provide you with a way to be successful in finding and attracting and navigating the differences here. I've presented to near 1,000 students around the world. I've been doing these types of webinars and in-person keynote speeches for a few years. And this picture to the left, that is the death stare. I have seen this many times. It is uncomfortable, right? You're going in front of a group of young people trying to convey a message. And really it looks like, call a medic because we need to check pulses here. I've been there, I can relate to it. And we also know that, a young person's perception of the printing industry is not sexy. They probably think of Gutenberg, if they even know who that is, old school printing presses. And these are the things that we're going to navigate together. And I want to go from seeing the death stare to commanding their attention and really drawing their interest into all the opportunities that we have in an industry. And more importantly, attracting them to your company. So we have a big endeavor ahead of us. Is it mission impossible? Should I tell Steve, quit the webinar right now and let's go to early lunch? I think not. I'm very optimistic that we can turn this challenge actually into a valid opportunity. And what I want you to think as you hear myself in the panels is, I really believe it's possible to go from this original conception that print is dead, it's not an attractive opportunity, to telling young students and early members of the workforce, you can hit the jackpot with the printing industry. I kid you not, that is my mentality because I've lived it, I've seen it myself, and that's really the angle that I think you should come across. This is a hidden gem for higher education opportunities. Maybe if that's not your path, getting right into the workforce and having a rewarding long career, depending on wherever your mindset skill set is. So, big picture mentality, this is where we want to go from mission impossible to you can hit the jackpot. And here's the steps of how to get there. How I want to break down my presentation is into 3 steps. I'm going to work you through what is the talk track, right, of connecting with millennials and Gen Z about the printing industry. Then we're going to go into, how do you find them within your local community or region, wherever you might be in the world. And more importantly, step 3, how do you actually attract them to your company? So we're going to take a big complex topic, finding next generational talent, and moving into 3 simple key sections for you here. Now, you may be feeling like Tom Hanks here, abandoned on an island, just with your friend Wilson, no resources to go about these tasks of finding and attracting, young members in the printing industry. And I can also relate to this, right? If you don't have a clear vision or understanding of how to effectively navigate this, it is a challenging task. But we're not going to leave you here stranded on an island talking to a volleyball. One thing I want to show you that's a critical resource in being successful in this, and actually all of you on this webinar have an opportunity afterwards, you're going to receive information of how to order this kit for free, just have to cover local shipping. This is a critical thing. It's called the Print is Everywhere Kit, and it was originally created in partnership between Print Industry Midwest and also Print Industries. Let me switch actually off the presentation mode, and I want to show you what this kit looks like. And this is what you're going to be able to receive. Here is the kit here. So a very attractive looking, easy to transport kit. And when you open it up inside, you are going to see a variety of really well-designed resources of how to convey the message to a classroom, maybe to a prospective hire, convey, the opportunity within the printing industry. And we're going to go through each one and how it works. But this kit right here that you can see, this will be available to you after the webinar to order. Only have to cover local shipping costs. This is going to be very key moving forward to everyone on the webinar. And thank you so much to Printing Industry Midwest and Printing Industries for enabling everyone to take advantage of that opportunity. So let's go back into the presentation here and go more into the talk track that I mentioned. So here are the categories, right? You need to come up with a compelling talk track in order to attract the next generation into the printing industry. And where I would start, fundamentally speaking, is that print is not dead. It is everywhere. And we need to get them excited and open their eyes to this key fact. Within the Print is Everywhere kit, they have some really interesting statistics, like there are more print-related businesses in the US than McDonald's and Subway restaurants. Who would have thought? I had no idea that this was even a statistic, but this is the big presence of the industry that we need to make young people aware of and start to get them excited. You could even break it down to a simple example, right? What young person doesn't love going into their Starbucks and getting their drink before or after school, right? Bring it down to that example. When you go into your Starbucks, right? How many of the items in that store do you think are printed? Well, nearly all of them, right? Bring these day-to-day examples. You could even talk about their daily routine. I sure hope these young kids are waking up and brushing their teeth and doing some shampoo and putting on clothes. But all these simple examples of by the time you wake up and go to school, all these different touch points of printed materials in their lives, these are easy, common ways to break down that conception that print is not dead and that it's actually everywhere. One thing that this kit does tremendously well, it actually breaks down each segment of the industry and gives them a compelling talk track of what is commercial print, right? Why is print so important that it's emotional, that it's tactile? What is the power of that message? What are some common examples of that segment in the industry? What does that look like? And within all of these 8 different sections of the Print is Everywhere kit, it does a phenomenal job of walking that student through the segment, through the application, and really in an attractive way, showing them the opportunity. So the kit, once again, is such a critical part of reaching success in the talk track. The next one, and I can't stress this enough, all backgrounds, interests, and skill sets are welcome and needed in this industry. Whatever that student's passion is, I guarantee you within a printing company, or let's say a vendor or manufacturer of equipment, there is an opportunity, there is a home for that person. And going back to the Print is Everywhere kit, one of their booklets that they have is actually a fold out going through each position in a company. You know, what are the skill sets required? What type of salary will it pay? What type of career path could it lead them on? And what a phenomenal student, not only for, I'm sorry, what a phenomenal resource, not only for students, but also parents, right? They want to be convinced as well that their son or daughter is in good hands and is actually getting into a higher education opportunity or a career path that will find them successful and happy. And this is a key message that you need to convey, is that end to end throughout a company, no matter what your interests are, it's needed and definitely welcome. Next one, we know in the printing industry, any news source that you read, video, magazine articles on LinkedIn, you name it, it's clear that next generation talent is needed in our industry. And that's another compelling part of the talk track, is to say, your skill set, you know, your opinion as a young person, that is in demand by companies. You know, that is in need. We want to hire you and find a position. You know, there's not many industries I know that are in such need of demand and really looking to take in those who have an inspiration and a drive. And even if they don't have a formal background in print, right? Just a young, new perspective mindset is something that is embraced. So this is, once again, in terms of opportunity for a student, long-term, building a career, moving up wherever their passions might be, you need to stress this point home. And once again, here's an example of the Print is Everywhere kit, talking about those different aspects of a company and what are the different career paths that are available. Next one, we know millennials and Gen Z care so much about the environment, right? Society and doing what is right at the end of the day. And I think it's critical to bring into the talk track that, you know, print is also a sustainable resource, and the industry is doing everything it can to eliminate waste and be as impactful and in a responsible way as possible. And in that Print is Everywhere kit, it'll explain to you the exact talk track of how to convey that message and make sure it's clear to millennials and Gen Zs that our industry is no different when it comes to having a similar vision of being sustainable and doing the right thing. Next up, our industry has cutting edge technology that, you know, is so phenomenal and sexy and interesting. It couldn't be further from that old school printing press, right? That most people think of. You know, you have technology of complete automation, right? Virtual reality, cloud integration, touch screens. Make sure that you're emphasizing the equipment that you have. You know, this is something that the company embraces, and that this is phenomenal technology that does things that I'm sure the students have had no idea about. Another one is our industry is embracing artificial intelligence and robotics, right? We're no different than other industries who are cutting edge and looking into the future of manufacturing. And this is a true statement here. It's not even that you have to exaggerate or feel like you're kind of bending the truth. The printing industry is looking forward. And I have to say, it's almost exhausting keeping up with all the new technology advancements and innovation. We also have within print, you can merge this, you know, tactile world also with the online world, and augmented reality through, you know, printed material is something that we see many companies and brands that are embracing. So don't forget, when you're talking about print, you know, oftentimes it goes beyond just ink on paper, and it's another compelling way to open up their mind to what the industry offers. And another thing here, I used to work for a company called Mimeo, and they've got a business model where order before 10 p.m., you have your printed products around the country next day, 8 a.m. You know, think of Amazon. Everyone loves their Amazon Prime. It's something that in an instant you can have the item that you need. You know, print is also serving the world in the same manner. We have very innovative print-on-demand business models, you know, distribution. And this is something that I would stress as well, that just like everyone can relate to Amazon Prime, this is something that print is helping enable. And just think of brands when they want to go to market extremely fast, or you as a consumer want to buy something and get it next day. Many times print is a big enabler to making that happen. Next up, millennials and Gen Z. You know, when I think of a lot of the stereotypes with that generation, it's that they're all self-centric. It's all about me, me, me. And who knows better than this generation how to shape personalization? And let's face it, print as a medium is under attack from a lot of different, media outlets. If you're a company and you want to market, you have a lot more options or slices of the pie available at your disposal to communicate that message. And print has really transformed over the years to be a compelling way to take your message from one message to the masses to one message to the individual, right? One-to-one. And through variable data printing, print on demand, we have a lot of phenomenal ways in the industry to do that. And this next generation knows best of how to effectively pull that off and make the connection with the consumer a successful one. So right off the bat, even if they don't have print experience, they have the mindset of ways to be successful with that medium. Next up, and I can't stress enough here, if the individual, the student, right, is thinking about a higher education path, we in the printing industry all around the world have different levels of school systems that will support that. And I think you should open their mind to, if they want to Google and explore what does that look like, there's a lot of different program names, department names, but at the end of the day, the opportunity is there for them to pursue their passion for print, explore that further in a higher education setting. Another topic, everyone loves money, right? I can't tell you the amount of scholarships, at least in North America, I can speak for that are available for young people looking to advance into higher education. Myself as a student at RIT, I understand this is a bit of an outlier, but I spent so much time applying to every single print scholarship that I could, that by my senior year, my university actually wrote me a check because the amount of the print scholarships I received actually exceeded the cost of tuition. Now, I'm not saying that that's something that everyone is able to obtain. I understand that's a unique situation, but why I bring that opportunity up is because there's so many phenomenal associations and foundations that are out there that are willing to invest in students and see the importance of fostering the next generation workforce. So what a more compelling way for both the student and parents to show them through industry associations, perhaps the university, or even our generous scholarship foundations. There is so much support there for that student in higher education. Now let's move from talking about the talk track, right? We've got a lot of different resources available. The Print is Everywhere kit, a lot of these different talk track points that I mentioned. Now, how do you actually go into your community and find that next generation talent? And I'm also going to combine that with how do you attract them? Because at the end of the day, that is our goal here, right? I want to help you and your company be successful in filling the gaps for the next generation talent. Let's go back to the basics. When you think about your community, we have elementary, middle schools, high school, university, and even the workforce, right? Let's work through each of those and provide some practical tips of how to go into the community and find and attract those young people. Now, I mentioned elementary school, middle school. If you're telling me or you're thinking, I'm too cool for school, Nick, right? That's a little too basic for me. Bear with me because I respectfully think that that is a missed opportunity. And case in point, I want to talk about a company out of Wisconsin, Wartsala, that did something phenomenal. I printed out a press release. The CEO, Jim Featherson, said, in light of the challenges in our community and our country, we are pleased to have this competition to inspire students' imaginations and virtually bring the community together. So they did a huge expansion that included both, growing out their building and also their equipment. They brought in a Heidelberger press, and the leadership team there had a vision to go into the local middle school and elementary schools and do a Name That Press competition. The success from that simple initiative, right? They received over 1,600 votes for the name of the press. They received entries from over 12 schools throughout their county. And at the end of the day, they selected the top 3 names of the printing press. You have Elvis Presley, the Polar Express, the Princeonator, very funny, ironic names from the students, But what they did is they awarded the classrooms with not only a monetary donation for supplies for the classroom, but they also gave them an opportunity to do a tour of the facility and host a pizza party. And just think of that, young students getting excited about a printing press, the printing industry, connecting with a site tour of the power of what that career path could be. And at the end of the day, having some fun too with the pizza party. This is such a low cost way to not only do what's right and get involved with the community, but also help inspire the next generation of students. So hats off to this company for putting together a practical way to reach success and getting exposed. Now let's move from middle school, elementary school over to high school. That is a challenging time to say the least. You know, students are trying to figure out what the heck do I want to do in life? There's a lot of pressure. Do I go into higher education? Do I go straight into the workforce? You know, what should I do? I don't have much direction. I would really acknowledge the challenging time that high school could be and use that understanding, make it into a positive situation when you go in there and do your talk track. So, you know, how can you actually attract within a local high school them to your company? One could be simple. Many high schools have a summer job fair. Myself at Roseville High School, we had many companies who towards the end of the school year would come in for an afternoon during lunch, share about what they do and the opportunities they have for hiring in the summer. That is a practical way you can go to your local high school, ask if they have that available. If not, see if you can create it with them. This is a very tangible thing to do if you want to attract high school students. Another thing, get involved with your local industry association, if you so have one in your region. My example, as a high school student, I saw that Printing Industry Midwest was available, and I found a great internship opportunity. This is something that if you're in the United States, you know, if you're a printing company, get involved with the local association, or even I encourage you to go to printindustries.org, which is a national association that really helps provide the resources to get in touch with high school students, including even the Print is Everywhere kit. So that is another way through your local associations that you can help attract high school students through the existing programs. Another one, it costs nothing to reach out to a local school and offer a plant tour for an hour or two. I guarantee you the students will be amazed at what they see, the products that are produced, the manufacturing process. Great way to get their interest and maybe even extend an opportunity for a summer internship for those who are interested. Next one, it costs nothing to contact a local high school, find the different classes and programs that they have. Here you can see some practical examples. Go in there for half an hour and explain to them, you know, what is it that your company does? What do they offer? What do they produce? Why should this be a compelling thing you think that the students should consider as a career path? And then sharing maybe internship opportunities or how they can apply. This costs nothing. It takes probably half an hour. I definitely encourage you to do it. Lastly, many junior and senior year students in high school, they have various industry career days. Once again, an easy way, you can drop an email to the high school, ask if you can be involved in those presentations. I guarantee you the printing industry would stand out and gather their interest. It's something that likely they don't even have on their radar. Lastly, just like we saw from Wartsala, they have a great approach to competitions that they can launch within the local community. You could do a graphic design one, something as simple as naming a new piece of equipment, or maybe you do a business case challenge that a local class or club, maybe related to business, can try to put together a solution, maybe present to your leadership team, and it's really a win-win situation. The students learn, and then also you as a company get exposure to the young students and building a connection. Now let's move from high school over to university. How do you find colleges, technical schools, you name it, in your community? The low-hanging fruit, the number one resource you need to check out if you're in the United States is the Print and Graphic Scholarship Foundation's Directory of School resource. You can Google PGSF, Directory of Schools. This is a hidden gem in our industry. They have by state every university that has a graphics related program. There's no excuse for anyone on this call who's in the United States who says, I can't find schools in my area who offers this type of program. Here's a resource that by state has every single university with that major listed. Thank you to PGSF for putting together a phenomenal resource. And this is a must research and embrace for everyone on this call who wants to understand what are the schools in my area where there are students who specifically know that they want to have a career path in print, and they're investing 1 year, 2 year, 4 years, whatever the degree might be in this specialization. How to attract them. We talked about how high school can be a difficult time. Put yourself in the shoe of a university student. They're investing a lot of time, a lot of money into finding something that they're passionate about, and ultimately a career path that will be rewarding. So if you have that thought process in mind, think about how you can deliver a talk track that would really accommodate a student early in college or maybe towards the end, looking for a job, how the industry is an attractive career path for them to consider. How you can do that. Once again, it's similar to the high school. You can go to their career fair. Likely it's a minimal cost. I would go to the universities in state. It would even be worth the investment to fly out of state for some of the more powerhouse programs, if you will, who have degrees related to our industry. Easy to do. Drop the school an email. When is your career fair? How do I get involved? Same thing as in high school. Facility tours cost nothing, and it's a great way to get the students in your building and more importantly, get their attention. Class presentations. The CEO of a printing company in the Northeast, John Bunnington, his company is called Morvang. He's someone who, for me, really stood out as an RIT student. He would come to our classes and present his perspective of the real world, of the industry. And that was so valuable to us as students to learn from him, former alumni donating his time, but also for John and his company, it allowed them to get access to the talent pool within the program and make them aware of what his company does and what are the employment opportunities after graduation. Very clever to do. Once again, no cost. We talked about various competitions, in the United States and even through Europe. You have the Technical Association of Graphic Arts, where you have students producing a journal from the universities each year with technical papers on the industry. And they also have to actually put together, from a graphic design and a printing perspective, a journal that they put in a competition. It could be an easy way to Google this association, find out how you can help support the students, whether it's from a production standpoint or maybe from mentorship. Easy to do. Going back to the basics, getting involved with your industry associations, both from a regional perspective and a national one. This is fundamental if you're not already doing it. Scholarships. Not only is it good for the betterment of our industry to invest in helping foster next generation talent, but also for you and your company, you could sponsor, for example, through PGSF, a scholarship from your company. And that would be a great way to support a student, but they already now are aware of your company, know that you're supporting them for whatever period of time. And what a great way to potentially create a relationship where after they graduate, they'd be interested in your company. And lastly, university students need mentorship. All of us, no matter what stage of life, need mentorship. You could easily extend, once again, at no cost, support through mentorship to current students. Could be something as simple as a coffee or a lunch, or just visiting campus maybe once every quarter, if you will. Easy ways to do the right thing and also help attract students to your company. We're getting towards the end of the presentation here, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. We covered elementary school, middle school, high school. Now I want to talk briefly about how do you find and attract that next generation talent currently in the workforce. Me personally, I think LinkedIn is a phenomenal resource no matter where you are around the world to connect and strategically find and identify that next generation young talent. So in terms of how to attract them, the simplest thing you could do is reach out, look at their profile, see their background, what they currently do today. Maybe you think that, hey, I have an opportunity for this student that would be very attractive for them and create a win-win situation. It helps fill my gap, right? My need for the next generation talent pool force. And it also gives this student an opportunity to maybe advance in their career and build that win-win long-term relationship. Reaching out is easy to do, doesn't take that long. Next one, formal connections. What I mean by that, so I grew up in the Twin Cities, and I have to say, if you want to find a role model company who does this better than nearly anyone I've seen online, it's a company called Sea Change, which is based out of the Twin Cities. What they do for what I call formal connections is they host events like Lunch on the Lawn, where they basically open up through LinkedIn. Anyone who's interested for a free lunch, getting together at their facility for a no pressure, getting to know each other, tour the facility, learn about the team. And I'm sure strategically for Sea Change, they also have opportunities they're looking to fill. This is a easy, low cost way to bring in interested people to learn more about the company and try to create a win-win employment situation for new hires. Lunch, games, enjoy nice weather. Simple, but also very effective. The next one is what I call push and pull marketing. You on LinkedIn could post every day, this is our job opening, please apply if you're interested. If you know anyone, please do so. I call that push, 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 right? You should also think about pull marketing, which Sea Change does very excellent. What they do is they're very involved with promoting their company culture, highlighting their employees. And this is what this is doing is it's showing the audience on LinkedIn that they care about their people. They have a strong mission statement, that they invest in talent in their company. And what this does in a pull method, if you're looking to change companies or get into a different kind of path professionally, you keep Sea Change in mind because fundamentally they care about the people and they're making these investments. So it's a different way of promoting your company versus being so direct, saying open opportunity. It's showing the community, what do you care about? What are your values? And by nature, that's going to pull in people in the workforce who are interested in that type of environment. Once again, talking about commitment to community involvement and service as well. So hats off to Sea Change and that leadership team for everything they do. That's nearing the end of my presentation. And I really hope that you feel like through the talk track that we mentioned, the tactics to find and also to attract, and let's not forget after this webinar, you're going to receive information of how to access the Print is Everywhere kit. I truly believe from the bottom of my heart, you have what you need to go into your community and create a difference. I think you're much better off from likely the start of this presentation to hit the ground running. Now, I don't want you to go anywhere. Once again, here's the Print is Everywhere kit. Stay tuned for an email after this webinar. What we have next, and this is so critical that you stay with us, we're going to go into the millennial panel from these members around the world. So myself based in Germany, now in the US. We have Deanne in Canada, Hunter over in China. Thank you, Hunter, for being up past midnight. And we're going to go into an open and honest discussion of everything we discussed here and how it relates to the challenges you face today. And I want you to think of some questions because the last 10, 15 minutes, we're going to open it up for a live dialogue for you and the audience as well. So let me get rid of this screen here and I'm going to introduce you to Deanne and Hunter. Okay, Hunter and Deanne, thank you so much for sticking with us on the various time zones. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you.
Doing good.
Let's start with you, Dan. So you have a unique path in the industry and a very fascinating company that I'm sure you and your family are very proud of. Could you set the stage for the audience into your background, what Cambridge Label does, and then we'll move on to Hunter after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I work for my family business, which is we're a label printing company, and also recently kind of venturing into some other markets such as shrink sleeves, if you're familiar with that form of label. And I never, to be brutally honest, I never envisioned myself working at the family business. I studied. I did my undergraduate degree in business and during my studies, my father said, okay, come work with me and see how you like it. And I must admit, during my 4-month summer stint, I got completely hooked on how fast paced it was and dynamic and ever changing. So I've stuck with it ever since. And I've now been with the company for going on 12 years.
And what you're currently doing today is phenomenal. Do you want to share about, beyond your undergrad, how with that vision and that passion, you actually doubled down and, if I'm not mistaken, did your MBA, and do you want to share your current position with the company? Because it's quite phenomenal for the young age and your passion, how you've decided this is where I want to be.
Yeah, well, thank you. So I did my undergraduate degree in business, and then again, I'm a very transparent person, so I knew I wanted to take over the company. And my father said to me, I'd really like you to go back and get your master's, just to help you earn credibility with our staff and our team. We have a team of about 70 people. So I went back to school. I did that, and I graduated in 2015. And I've been, working, and now I lead the company, the day-to-day operations. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's zoom from Canada all the way over to China. Hunter, how are you?
Doing all right. I'm awake. We're good.
You have a fascinating background as well, Hunter. Do you want to give a brief overview
sure.
for our audience?
So my name is Hunter Bliss. When I was 18, I left my home state of South Carolina to move to Germany to study physics, actually, but I didn't like physics. And I went searching for something else to study. And at that point, I had lived in Germany for a while, and I found a study program that had Chinese and printing. And I took it mainly because of the Chinese at first, because I thought that Chinese would be kind of an interesting challenge, and especially if I could go to China, I could learn more about the world. But then I started learning about print, and it also clicked with my physics background, and I just really liked it, and I'm still doing it now. I've graduated, I guess, 3 years ago. And then when I moved to China after my studies, I started working at R. Donnelley Shenzhen. And here I found a material called stone paper. It's a sustainable alternative to traditional paper based on stone powder instead of trees. And then I thought, if I'm going to do this, and I'm a risk taker, so I will just do it myself, and I'll make my own company. And that's what I'm doing now. It's a printing startup. It's just me. I work between 4 different printers. Definitely in China, there's also definitely a lack of millennial talent. That's for sure. I work with people a lot older than me, trying to get them to get on board with innovation. And that's just what I'm doing now. It's just, lots of sales, and most of the innovations that I do are all stuff that I think about just based on my printing education. And that's what I do.
Excellent. So everyone who's still with us, that's who we are. That's our background. Myself as the moderator, I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit for Deanne and Hunter. And I want to start off to gather your opinions. We'll go first, Deanne, and then over to Hunter. When you look at this topic we discussed today, right? The challenge of finding next generation talent, from your perspective, do you feel that, truly that is a major challenge that the industry has? Or do you say, the next generation talent is there, but really the challenge is on the printing company side, teaching them and enabling them to effectively do the talk track, find them, and actually attract them. And let's not forget also retaining them. So Deanne, on your end, do you kind of say one or the other, a little bit of both? What is your perspective on this overall topic that we're covering?
Yeah, I think that the talent is definitely there. It's just a matter of actually finding them, at least in my area. My family business is located about an hour outside of Toronto, and we don't have actually any high school programs or anything like that. Probably more of a stronger presence of such programs in the US. So it's definitely a challenge, because what my father and I always say is there's no real pipeline to our market. There's a small one, but it focuses more on managerial type talent. There's no pipeline for, the skilled trade of print. So that definitely poses a challenge. Now, I find once you find someone who you think would be a good fit, of course, you can always train that person. It's just, and that's what we end up doing. It's just a bit of a long road
No doubt.
right? But I mean, we do it. It's kind of what we have to do.
And to everyone listening, what I think is so neat is you have Deanne and Hunter who are actually, leading their respective companies. So not only is it a millennials perspective, but they're in it with you. They're facing the same challenges. They're sitting in that same seat of they're talking the talk and walking the walk here. Hunter, over on your end, from your perspective, which side does it fall?
I think I don't have troubles looking for young employees. I think I am just a young person working in the printing industry. And I just I look at the attitude of the other people that I work with. The average age of people that I work with, the people in the offices are going to be at least 40. And then the people on the floor are going to be in their 20s, like me. So I can just look around and see all the printers that I go to, and I can just see that trend really clearly. And then, when I was looking before this conference, I was looking at some of the statistics from the US. And I think that the average age of a printing company's employee now, we were talking about how the machine workers are 60, something like 47. So that is a really high average age for an industry. And I saw a quote in, I think, Printing Impressions, that the industry with an aging workforce could literally die. They'll retire away, or
it's a good thing you're not in a live presentation.
It was a quote. It was a quote. But no, I can, you can just see it. And even when I studied print in Stuttgart at the Hochschule der Medien, you see the staff that work there, the teachers and the people who work the machines and the bookbinding people. These are all people, 30 plus at least, working with really young students, 20 to 25. And yeah, you can see it really obviously. And I think that the printing industry in general, I don't think this is just an American problem. I think it's a worldwide problem.
Yep.
The printing industry in general is just so old and has such a long legacy. It doesn't, it's sort of just, it's waiting on the next time to be cool again, which is coming. And that's what I work on. The vision that I see for the printing industry around the world is just as cool as electronics as we see them today. They're just sort of like bubbles they're bubbles that form around certain things that get people's attention. But I definitely see it. I see the issue.
I propose we go from high level topics, right? And really get down to details and the best practices, because that's our deliverable to everyone here on this call. And I know you guys have phenomenal experience. So let's go back to the fundamentals of my presentation, right? We start with learning about how do you properly do the talk track. Then we move into finding and then also attracting. So going back to step one of putting your mind around what is the talk track. Deanne, as you mentioned, your family's company is outside of the big city, right? It's not like you've got, is it Ryerson that's, right next door. You're asking prospective young graduates to move out of the hustle and bustle, exciting city. So going back to talk track, tell us, how do you, in your day-to-day business, try to convince the next generation talent to come in the industry, but also your specific company?
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes I actually encountered this. Sometimes if people are really set on that big city lifestyle, I'm going to be brutally honest, there's nothing I can do to get them to move an hour outside. So I focus more on, we're still in a decently populated area. There's young people in our area. So I try and focus more on local talent. A lot of them, though, they come from entirely different backgrounds, never ever even given print a thought. So a big tactic of mine is I like to conduct the interview. I have other people who will assist me with interviews, but in all honesty, I feel like who can better sell a company than one of the owners themselves, right? I spend the time with them. I take them for a tour. You mentioned, Nick, in your presentation, how, that can lure a lot of students in, a plant tour, because we have some really, really impressive equipment here. Yep. It's pretty incredible. And I think that when people see it, not knowing much about print, they're like, oh my gosh, this is really, really neat. Like I could potentially be running that. That could be mine to, take ownership of. And I think once I can get them on site, then the dialogue, then we've got them, quite interested, in my opinion.
And thinking about the tips that were shared, and I want to be a little controversial and challenge. Any company listening to this, you can't tell me I can't think of an excuse of why you can't do this. At zero cost, go into your community, all levels of age, and for free, for no cost, bring those students in or go to their schools. This costs nothing. And I really think it just comes down on the initiative of the leadership teams. But let's scoot over to China, over to Hunter, and on this topic of talk track, Hunter, I mean, challenge me. I'm a student who thinks print is outdated, and how do you?
I'd like to talk about your presentation and how we can also extend it to make the value more complete. The presentation itself was incredible. You covered all of the topics that I have been studying all day. The personal marketing when it comes to going into schools, no cost. This is super effective. I think that's definitely the first strategy they should try. And then LinkedIn for people who are in the workforce now. I think this is what I think this maybe I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is what printing companies might do when they want someone really qualified to replace someone else in a higher position.
Sure.
But a strong feeling that I get from the sales strategies that I use to make our innovations popular abroad, because I have no way of touching American customers or touching customers in the West. But those are my target customers because of the sustainability innovations. You have to meet the young people where they hang out on the internet. And if you look at the demographics of where that is, for printers, the main things are going to be YouTube and Instagram. And looking at the attendees today, I saw a very consistent pattern of, if I may be a little spicy, of somewhat mismanaged social media. So I saw one company that had over 1,000 followers on Instagram, for example, and then I saw one company that had over 100 subscribers on YouTube. But Instagram and YouTube, depending on what kind of workers we want, as long as you're targeting people from the ages of 18 to 34, they are on these social media networks, especially females. They're mostly on Instagram. If you want to say that printing is a male industry, but I think these two social networks don't cost a lot of money, and as long as you run them organically and listen to, if you already have young people in your internal team, if you listen to their ideas, it just kind of flows out. Those two things I think are big points that people should also take home.
And I'll run with that idea, because when I go to a printing company's website or even step in their front door, it's kind of like the 3-second test. Like if I go on their website and it looks like you went back a few decades, I don't know, whatever my intention was for visiting it, I'm done. I go to somewhere else,
Yeah, it's the print attitude. They're like, we've been so focused on print this whole time, and a lot of printers may even be scared of digital technology. But as a young person, I can look at a website just like you're saying in 3 seconds, and I can know what the character of that company is. I don't even need to click any buttons. I can just see it. That's like the first thing. But like I feel like as long as we can make printing cool, the whole industry cool, to remind people of what print has done for society through things like YouTube and Instagram, then young people will know what printing is. They'll know what it is.
And one topic about that, making it cool, right? I've been to so many facilities where it's all white walls, small little kitchen. I mean, even in the production room, it's just outdated. It's like, we're print, graphics, colors, tactile, wow. And don't forget, I mean, you're providing that to your clients all day, but don't forget within your own walls and for your employees and for those customers visiting.
Excited.
That's a huge part of your message. Deanne, I'm wondering for you and your company, how do you embrace these things we're talking about, whether it's, you know, the kind of the culture of the company and building that spirit, your online presence, because this is so critical. What's your strategy with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I must say, I'm thankful that we launched our new website last week, so that now if you go to look, I'll pass the test, hopefully.
It's a good website. It's a good website.
Yeah, but on that note, I've actually hired a lot of great talent, some millennials, some Gen Zs recently that have come to me and they're like, we have all these cool ideas, and they kind of pitch me on them, and I'm like, let's put them into action. So I'm trying to make it more fun and trying to make it cool. We're actually on TikTok now. Cambridge Label is, if anybody has TikTok. And we're making some really, really clever and pretty impressive videos that like some got like over 1,000 views. Because it is cool, right? And if you don't show it, then how does the world know? So I think just embracing, you know, trying to you know, if we can rope in younger talent into our doors, I spend a lot of time working with them, listening to their ideas, meeting with them, mentoring them constantly. I will say it's a big effort on my part because I think the key to retention is engagement. You know, you have to engage them, and if you don't, and you don't give them cool projects to work on and listen to them, then they're not going to feel valued.
That's a big one. That's a really big one. So I mean, when I started at R. Donnelley, like I said, I'm so young in this industry. When I started working at R. Donnelley, the big bugaboo that I had was when I came into R. Donnelley and I provided a lot of evidence. I wrote maybe 80, 90 pages about stone paper and how we can build a model around this. And because the upper management understandably was dealing with a lot of risk as a big printing company, there's just no time for these things. So this I think, Deanne, is something that would hurt retention. And I can understand this as a young person, why that puts you off. But yeah, it's a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, and it's hard because even from my perspective, like when we get thrown these special projects, I always want to explore them, but a lot of the times, me personally, I actually don't have the time, which is why then I actually rope in I have a guy on our team. He's super enthusiastic, loves new stuff, loves researching. And you and I, Hunter, should talk offline because we had a request for stone paper.
Labels. Etiquette Schiller in Germany is killing it with stone paper labels. They're doing so good.
Yeah. So
it has not come to America yet. I've had requests from Canada.
Yeah.
Only a few from America. I've had several requests from Canada. Yeah.
So like that's something that I would have, again, trying to keep them engaged. I just delegate it. Like you have to have trust in your people. And I just say, okay, I'm going to give this to you. You look into it. You let me know what you think. So I do a lot of that, trying to go beyond like the standard day-to-day scope of somebody's job to keep them engaged.
That's so critical. And for me, it starts with the leadership of the company, right? You can't tell me, it's so tough, it's challenging, and you're doing no actions to back it up. We're telling you, us three around the world, that next generation talent pool is there, and it really requires you to put together these initiatives.
There's sort of one weird attitude though, and it sort of is the foundation of my sales philosophy, and that is that the people that we're talking to right now, we have a lot of people listening, and the average age may be pretty high. People should not have the feeling that they're running behind the young people trying to catch them. Because if you do this, young people will always be put off, just like customers, any customer of anything. As a printer, you should broadcast confidence because that's what people want. They want someone they can trust and have a career with and know that they're doing something good with. need also to understand the basic tools like TikTok.
I think we
You
should
don't
go
have to like
further.
them, but you have to understand them.
I say we go further into that because your statement 100% correct, but of course the devil's in the details. So let's recap what we've talked about. Getting them in the facility is key, right? And how you do that could be different.
100%.
We've covered that.
Touch machine. You got to touch the machine.
Getting them in there. Once you have them there, we talked about, culture matters. Show them the big picture of what they're doing, what it's contributing to. And we have an awesome industry for that. I mean, human communication and the power of print. And we talked about in the presentation so many different examples. You could tell them, what if you spent all that money on a 4-year degree and your university just attached a PDF of your diploma? Man, it's not the same as a printed thing you put on your wall, or, just think about the impact of a thank you card or a birthday card. I mean, and really relaying that message. What other points am I missing, or should we add to that? Because I think this is where the audience really can write down and listen to the recorded version of this and put into action items. What else should we mention?
I have one thing you just mentioned about going back to school. So I have this one of our team members. She works in production, and she's only been with us for like maybe 3-4 months, and she's like, oh, I really want to go back to school and learn a trade. She's like, I'm not sure what trade yet. And I was like, and she's really good, this girl, and she shows a lot of potential. So I was like, why don't you just stay here and you can learn a trade here, and I will pay you to learn a trade. You won't have to pay to learn a trade. I will pay you, and we will keep you going up and up and up in the right direction. I think that's key. Like, our philosophy is, as soon as people are up and trained, or they show an interest and they're doing a good job and we're training them, we continue that progression up the pay scale, which is important.
There's a question in the chat.
Yeah, let's go to the question. Why not?
It's a really good question. How do you...
I'll set the stage here. So, how do printing companies who can't afford robotics, or let's say the latest and the greatest printing press technology, how do they draw in the young generation to their companies? Or, let's say they don't have all the shiny bells and whistles. I have a few ideas of how they could do that, but let's bring it to Hunter and then over to Deanne.
I don't think you need robotics or press technology to draw in the young generation. Just what we were talking about. Using your cell phone is your marketing platform if you're looking for young people. And I'm sure you all have cell phones, and your staff probably has cell phones too. But the old school printing companies, the thing that really ignites, I don't know if this applies to most young people, but the thing that really ignites my passion in printing is the way I was taught about printing and the legacy of printing, and how printing is kind of the pillar of civilization. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you just think about what the Bible did for the world, what printing did, I feel like I'm part of something much bigger. So I don't think you need to worry about anything about being an old school printing company. That's still so cool. And you should just be confident about yourself and show off what you have. Like Dan was saying, you got to show it so people know it, so they know about it.
Yeah. Now, Deanne, with your company, you have made some significant investments in state-of-the-art technology.
Yeah.
What about the talk track beyond the heavy iron? What do you use as strengths?
I think so. I've asked actually this week, I asked a couple of our younger, newer hires, because they always tell me, and I'm not just saying this, they just say, oh, I really like working here. It's so cool. I really love it. And I said, well, what do you love about it? And they said, you trust us to take on like these special projects. So I think in luring new talent, you could talk about maybe some unique opportunities that might appeal to the younger generation. For example, one guy has a strong desire to go and do outside sales. So I'm like, you know what, next time I get asked to do a sales visit, you and I can go, or you can go. So giving those unique opportunities. And then I think too, so that's how I would lure them. If you don't have the capital, I would try and lure them through unique experience, and also empowering them And also giving them flexibility. That's another thing that the younger generation say to me that they really, really like is I'm pretty flexible. Like I recognize everybody has a life outside of work. So if they have an appointment or if something comes up, I just say like, sure, no problem. As long as they're not abusing it, of course, but we have a good, like our team is really great, so nobody really abuses that. And they're like, oh, compared to my last job, like you guys are so flexible and understanding and you treat us as people. So I think it kind of comes back to the basics too, in a way.
And that's key.
Also,
Go ahead, Hunter.
yeah, I'm going to put a YouTube channel in the chat. It's called Jukebox Print. They're so old school. They're doing like letter set printing, and they are crushing it on YouTube. And that's probably a huge part of their business. But definitely I can recommend that to that other question about the old technology.
Mm.
And I want to give a shout out, Andrew, in the comments that I can see. We talk about how do you attract young people beyond just the equipment aspect. He had an idea, it's just something as simple as, like how Word Solid did that, name the printing press competition. Something as simple as maybe doing a competition where they design a calendar and then the printing company would produce it, right? I mean, something as simple as that to, I think, inspire those who have those passions. To me, it would be a good idea of a tactic. Do you guys feel otherwise or agree?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Just down to earth examples of how through competitions and community involvement, companies can draw the interest in and build awareness. Andrew just had a great comment about something as simple as a design competition with the school, design a calendar, and the winning design gets a print.
I just won a competition actually 2 weeks ago in Germany called the Autokram Innovation Challenge. That was a question to young people with just ideas, and mine was in the business tier about young people's ideas on how to make commodity materials more sustainable. In that case, it was plastic, but you can do the same thing with paper. And definitely with any printing business, you could do a competition on how to make a printing business more sustainable, and young people will flock to it.
Yeah.
And they'll give you so many ideas, not always good ideas, but they'll give you tons. Sorry.
All good. So we're approaching, I'd say, the highlight of the webinar. You've invested your time listening to us. Now is your time to shine with, the Q&A section. But before we go to that, I would just ask Deanne and then Hunter, just provides a closing statement for everything we've talked about today, and maybe encouragement for those listening, really trying to get across that barrier in their companies. Deanne, let's start with you.
Yeah, in closing, I would say it starts at the top. It starts with management. I think management has to invest the time. Younger people, they want to feel, they want the youth, they want to feel valued. So you have to take that time to meet with them on a regular basis, mentor, give them new opportunities that are exciting outside of their normal job scope, to continue learning. And there was a comment about younger people also wanting instant gratification. I would say don't wait like a year or however long your normal performance reviews are. Yeah. Keep that trend going, I think, faster rather than slower, to show that the fruits of their labor are paying off. And I think that if you kind of follow those practices, we've had success in retaining and attracting young talent.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan. Hunter, over to you.
I would just say that, I think we're in a dip in the stock right now. And as long as we understand that we represent one of the coolest industries of the last several centuries, and we continue to behave that way, then the people will come. They'll come. We just have to trust ourselves and not try to fulfill every little need of young people marketing.
I think that goes back to your comment about confidence, right? We have a lot to offer. Proud industry.
It's one of the coolest industries in the world, and it has been for a very long time, and it will continue to be.
Agreed. Well, I really want to thank both of you for your preparation efforts and sharing these great opinions. And what we're going to do the last, I'd say 10 minutes or so, and then Steve will do a closing statement. We're going to open it up for Q&A. It sounds like the mics will be open for questions. So Steve and Chris, unless you have any other adjustments to that, take it away.
Nick, thank you so much. We just asked everyone to unmute themselves. They can ask a question. Just hit unmute. I think Ben has made that available and turned everybody to the point where they can unmute. So welcome anybody to kind of chime in with a question for Nick or Deanne or Hunter. I'd like to start if I don't mind. One thing I mean, there's a lot of great talk track for print service providers that I was provided. I love the jukebox print. I went to see their YouTube. I had never seen that before. I think, you know, putting your best foot forward in social and via the web is obviously important, and probably more important than I think people are giving credit to. Both of you said you can look at a website, or I think two of you said you can look at a website pretty quickly, see about that company, maybe understand more than they actually think is being understood. How would you describe a website that is current and puts itself forward in a way that you understand that the company is a forward-looking entity?
Let's have Deanne, the new website owner here, share.
Yeah, because we just redid our website, and my on-site graphic designer, who is, I think she's Gen Z, really grabbed that project and tackled it for me for the large majority. I think a lot of it comes down to staying up to date with aesthetic. So you can tell visually an old website from a new. We took our graphics really widescreen, added a lot more imagery, added, you know, new trending socials like the TikTok as an example. Those are kind of things that I look for. And now when I reflect back on our older website, I could just tell visually it looked dated. And I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I mean, we all do. Yeah.
I can speak pretty specifically to that. I have two companies. One is called Ellie. It's a it's digital marketing. I make websites for a really long time. A good website is going to run on WordPress, and it's going to use Amazon. It's going to use Amazon Web Services as a server. And you're good. There are like a bunch of technical details that make a perfect website, that make it perfect. And it's hard to say it all in one sentence, but you just have to make sure that everything is like im Einklang, everything's in harmony. The design has to be in harmony. The fonts and the colors, it all needs to match. No Times New Roman. No Comic Sans. None of that. The pictures need to be high resolution, and that is a thing that I think printers should sometimes have a little shame. I see low resolution pictures on printers' websites.
No excuse.
Yeah, no excuse for that. Definitely, if I see a low res picture, I'm out. Like stretched.
Thanks for the input. Let's keep the questions coming, and please be direct. Challenge us, right? This is what the time is for.
Really quick, I put one more YouTube channel. You said you like Jukebox Print. I put one more YouTube channel in the chat. This is some Indian channel called Custom Printing, and all they do is just record themselves printing things, and it's really successful. Really interesting. They literally just hold the camera there and print things. I don't see why you can't do a live stream of a printing thing in America. The factories are much prettier.
Good idea. Okay, how about with next question? Steve, are we looking for a raised hand, or does someone want to introduce the person and they can unmic?
Happy to acknowledge anybody. We do have another question for you from Joan at Ideal Printers. You know, what's your top trick for time management to get all of that done?
So I'll share one that actually my father shared with me. My father's been self-employed in print for over 40 years. And he always says the building's not going to fall down in an hour or an hour and a half. And of course, in management, my day is constantly getting interrupted. So if you have something that you need that hour and a half of downtime to actually focus on, and if you don't, you will not get it done. Close the door and do not disturb on the phone is kind of what I do. Other than that, you know, and he would do that every single morning. I must be honest, I don't do it every single day, but I do because I try and have an open door policy. But, you know, on the flip side, when I have something to tackle, I closed the door. I even I locked my office door because I didn't want knocks and I put do not disturb so I could focus on this session as an example. So it is quite effective because people can't get a hold of you.
Great ideas. Very
Yeah,
practical too.
I don't I don't have any time management issues as I have just started. A year and a half. I've done this for a year and a half. I keep a journal. I just write everything every morning in a journal, and then I just work my way down the list throughout the day. Yeah.
Also have the to-do list, and I assign sometimes I assign myself somewhat arbitrary deadlines as well, because I know I'm a very deadline focused person. So if I'm steering the ship, I'm kind of like, okay, I personally would like to get it done by such and such date.
Nick, do you want to address Ray Fagan's question?
Yeah, Ray, thanks so much for the comment. So to summarize what Ray said, you know, basically, we're really good at discussing this topic within the industry, but how do we get the news, you know, outside of the industry? That seems to be a challenge. And, you know, a quick suggestion that comes to my mind would be the tactics like, you know, YouTube or even LinkedIn that really addresses a much broader audience and doing it in a way that is, you know, attractive, entertaining. To me, that would seem like a relatively low barrier, but I'd love to hear if the others have a different approach of how to take these topics and really crank up the microphone to the whole external audience.
Yeah, I think you said it. You do. I think it'd be really interesting if you just identify certain things that happen with young people. For example, Starbucks. We were talking about how's a Starbucks coffee cup printed, and then just go from there and make a video about that, and then you'll get 1 million views because it's just that curious little thing. And don't make it a 15-minute video. Don't make it a 20-minute video. Just make it like a 1-minute video that just gives them like a little taste of the printy print. Or in Deanne's case, you know, you do like the Coke labels or something like that. Something that everybody knows. And you just do the low level stuff.
Yeah, of course, social media, great platforms. We're really active on LinkedIn, and we share quite a bit on that, but more of a, I don't know if you want to call it a grassroots approach, but again, in attracting the younger talent, I've had a lot of success of, you know, attracting and retaining young talent. And then those individuals actually go and tell their friends how much they enjoy working here. So it's just more word of mouth, I would say. And we have a large percentage now of young people in our office that I had one, I told Nick this earlier, but we had one girl come in for a job interview and she asked me if it was to cover off a mat leave because everybody was so young looking, which was great because it just like, I feel like once you kind of get that presence of the younger generation in your company, it just can snowball from there. It's just getting there in the first place. And I guess getting it outside of the industry, I personally don't discriminate against somebody if they don't have a background in print, because I find finding people with a background in print is sometimes difficult.
And Nick, I'd like to also address that same question from Ray, and that's, you know, with print industries, as I've spoken to you, you know, the kit itself is not going to make a difference. We have to put tools in people's hands so they can tell that print is everywhere story. One of the ways that we plan to do that is through career fairs and workforce events. They're happening all over the country as we speak. And print is usually not at the table or not represented in these national and local regional career fairs. So we're working to amass the data of where those events are and to be connecting print stakeholders to attend those events and use the Print is Everywhere campaign, presentations, marketing materials as a way to, as an inroad to getting this story out there. And then of course, people will add their own personal stories to that topic because that's what's really going to ultimately make a difference. We want to help people tell that big picture print story and make sure that we are at the table at these events around the country.
That's a great addition, Steve. And I saw in the comment section, it was brought up that, branding, going back to this discussion of attracting and, even outside of the industry, telling the story about your company. Branding is so critical, what are your values? What do you care about? And that's why the little case study on sea change here in the Twin Cities is so effective. I mean, it's putting together an easy strategy of how you can communicate what's important to you. And I'm confident that the audience who connects with that philosophy will listen. So great point in the comment about branding and articulating what that is and sharing it. We have 3 minutes left, ladies and gentlemen. Speak now or hold your peace. Great questions, and we want to keep it going. So maybe we can sneak in 1 or 2 more, please.
Hey, Nick, it's Chris, and there are a couple questions in the Q&A now, and one of them is about they've been a guest speaker at 2 different community colleges talking about print to graphic design classes. They teach about design, but don't teach how to bring it to life in the real world. And I just wanted to add, I know that the getting active in the schools, but I will also suggest for any of you to, at those community colleges, to try to get onto their advisory boards so that you can start telling those teachers what should be taught in their programs. So basically any program at a community college or technical college will have an advisory board where you can provide your input to what you want to be taught. And I think that's another grassroots way for all of you as employers. They are always looking for people from the industry to sit on their advisory boards, desperate for them. So that's just my suggestion for that.
That's a great one, win-win scenario. Further support and get involved in the community at the same time, help with your company. Thanks, Chris.
And then there's another question. I also take a quote I did for a client. When they got the price of the print project, they fired the designer on the spot for designing something so expensive. So
I think from a printer's perspective, we come across this a lot actually, and I will say that, yeah, a lot of graphic designers don't know how to design for print, but that's when typically, at least I've trained my staff, you come in and you can showcase, okay, let's give them 3 different options of like, this is a higher end, this is a mid-range, this is a lower end option. Cause you can always make modifications. I recognize sometimes people are so set on that initial design and they don't want to do it, like they don't want to compromise. But then if that is the case, then of course there's a cost to that, but there's always, options to be flexible to cut down on the cost from my experience.
Nick, you want to wind it up?
Yeah, once again, I'd really like to thank PIM and the other affiliates for bringing this critical topic to our industry to such a discussion. I'm grateful for the invite to present and be a moderator, and big round of thanks for Hunter in China. What time is it now, Hunter?
It is 2 a.m.
2 a.m., ladies and gentlemen, and Deanne as well for being so kind with her time. What a win-win scenario. And as Teresa alluded to earlier here, maybe we keep such conversation and dialogues going in future webinars. So let's stay tuned. And if anyone's curious, has a desire to reach out, you've got our names and we're all on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, Nick and Hunter and Deanna. Nick, thank you so much. That was a terrific event. Appreciate our panelists and their willingness to put in all this time And so this is, again, one step in a long conversation that we're in. We're not going anywhere. We'll be back. And thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you all again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.